32 ticks following, so they are swallowing. Monkey is swallowing. Snake self swallowing. Next, a swallow two will fly and come and swallow. You're ever swallow in a hollow gallow, making a whole lot of halabaloo. Jale kalu, we know say you chop the money some, so give me the loot. Do you really want a revolution or just your turn? Cause if you really want a revolution, all this for ban. Or you go shut out the rig the system to forever fail us.
Welcome to the Ake Arts and Book Festival 2020 online. My name is Ayodele Morocco-Clarke, and I shall be chairing the panel discussion titled Securing the Intellectual Property of Creative Africans. With me on the panel today are Ade Yejide Kilanko, and Bitrus Dauda. I'll give them all a minute to introduce themselves to you.
Oh, good afternoon. So my name is Yejide Kilanko. I'm a writer, I'm a poet. I was born in Ibadan. I currently live in Chatham, Ontario in Canada. It's always a pleasure to be at Ake. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for having me, Ayodele. I'm Mr. Bitrus Dauda, Director of Planning, Research and Statistics, Nigerian Copyright Commission.
Hi, Ake fam. Ade here. I'm a musician, I'm a producer, also co-founder of Afropolitan Vibes, and I'm a member of the band that goes by the name of Bantu.
Thank you all, and you're welcome. Now, we know that intellectual property rights are rights that accrue to creatives all over the world, Nigeria, Africa. Now, this panel is set to address these rights and any breaches, any protection that may be afforded to creatives. I'll start off this session by asking the representative of the Nigerian Copyright Commission, Mr. Bitrus Dauda, can you explain to us what intellectual property is and what are the intellectual property rights that creative Nigerians and Africans can seek to protect?
Intellectual property refers to creations of the mind, such as inventions, designs, literary, artistics, symbols, images used in commerce. Intellectual property is divided into two categories. We have the industrial aspect of IP, such as industrial design, inventions, better known as patents. We have geographical indications. We have trade secrets. That's under the industrial aspect of intellectual property. Coming down to copyright. Copyright covers literary works such as computer software, books, and so on and so forth. Then we have artistics aspect of copyright too. Artistics work covers music, film, and so on and so forth. So these are the two aspects of artistic. Then we now have others that include related rights, which involve live performance and the folklore.
Now, on to the two creative people we have on the panel, Ade and Yejide. I would like to ask that being in the musical and literature spheres of creativity, respectively, what are the challenges and fears creative Africans face with regards to intellectual property in the course of their careers? So you can talk on this from your personal perspective and also from your knowledge of your various industries.
Okay, thank you. So when I think in terms of for writers, when we think about the challenges we face, I think one, we think about somebody actually reproducing your work, and which is pirating your work and selling it. And of course, you're not making any royalties from that. or we can actually have someone not only just reproducing your work and sending it under your name, but actually taking that work and passing it off as theirs. And so when people, that's a lot of when people post things online, they're always worried about, oh, what if someone takes my work and shares it without my permission and is making money from it? I remember the very first time I was quite young, I would say the early 80s, when the late Pa Musolaya did the movie Orumuru, and his movie was pirated. My dad was an avid movie watcher, and I remember the conversations in our home about what happened with that movie, how it was pirated, and it was a huge economic loss for Babasala then. And so as creatives, we're always worried that someone will take your work, take credit for it, and then you put in all this time, all this effort, and then you don't get to actually reap the rewards of your work. So I think from a writer, that's one of the challenges that we worry about, that someone would actually steal your work or reproduce it without your permission.
Thank you. Mr. Bantu.
From a musician's perspective, that is those of us on the continent, I think the major issue is unlicensed music distribution, piracy ultimately. So the classic case was having your works being pirated on CD by Alaba marketers, as they are known. That is people that distribute CDs, illegally press CDs, and all of a sudden you'll find your works either on compilations without your consent, or your full album will be out there on the streets. Vendors will be hawking them. You come across them in record stores and things like that. So that is definitely an issue, piracy. But now going back to the realities of 2020, where everything is more digitized and we're talking about a digital space and not about a physical CD anymore, the issue we have is you just find your music that you've basically worked on, that you've put a lot of money into with music videos and all of that. You find it on internet forums, and you find it on websites without your consent. So what happens is that not only can people listen to it, they can now download it without compensating you for it. And that's a major issue there, because you did not give them the go ahead and said, my music is for free. And all of a sudden, it looks to the consumer out there, to the listener, like it is free content that they can share around. So that is a major issue. And I think also sampling, which is basically taking your creative idea and then chopping it down. So it might be your guitar riff, it might be your chorus. All of a sudden, you find another artist replicating your idea without actually seeking your consent. And that is a major issue in Nigeria, because you have a lot of young kids referencing old massive hits without actually going to the copyright holder and seeking their consent. So those are issues that we're facing and that we need to rectify ASAP.
Okay. Also, still on Yejide and Ade, I just want to ask, do you find, being African creatives, that it's more difficult to have intellectual property protection in Nigeria and in Africa than it is in the West, in places like maybe the UK, the US, Germany, France, Canada, wherever else it is? Do you think it's much more difficult? And would you rather be protected over there, like maybe release songs and things there, than in Africa or in Nigeria?
I would speak from my own experience. So this year, I had 2 incidents that happened where one of the federal ministers in Nigeria, actually, they had a digital library, and they took my novel and uploaded the entire book on their website. And looking at the published date on the URL, I could tell that they've uploaded for a long time. And so we're talking about a government, a ministry. They don't have the understanding that you cannot upload copyrighted work, somebody else's copyrighted work, and put it on the internet for other people to download. And the second thing was, second incident this year was with a book blogger who had reviewed my novel and gave it a really good review. But then in that, she tagged me in that post. And then she then proceeded to say in that post that, oh, if you want a PDF copy of this book, please ask me for one. And so with the ministry, I reached out to them and said, this isn't right. This is my copyrighted work that you've put on the internet for everybody to download. And then I also reached out to the book blogger to say, while I appreciate your review, you are offering to offer, you're giving people PDF copies of my book for free. And so I think if definitely when I look in terms of the challenges on the continent, it's more like a public awareness. She truly did not understand that sharing a PDF copy of copyrighted work, it's piracy, it's theft, you're encouraging that. So I think, and if a government ministry does not understand that, then how much more the average person on the street? So I think where we have challenges really is that understanding of what is intellectual property, what does it mean, what is copyright, and so I would say living in Canada, people have a better understanding of what that is, but piracy is not an African issue. It's a worldwide issue. And now living in the digital space is even like before, when it was just the physical books or the physical material that it was harder to share, but now uploaded, anyone in the world can access those materials. So I think it's even things are even more challenging now for everyone, for every creative, wherever they live. But I think we need that more understanding about what intellectual property is on the continent.
Well, the situation on ground is very bleak for us musicians. I mean, half of the broadcasters on the continent do not pay licensing fees or royalties to artists. So that in itself is already a no-go. It's like, how can this be happening in 2020? And then when you look at regulation, I think like government bodies like the Nigerian Copyright Commission are weak when it comes to actually implementing the laws that exist. People are not really held accountable. And as Yejide pointed out, when you don't have that public awareness, then you're kind of caught in the middle as a creative, because you want your works to be heard, you want them to be read, you want to share it, but you want people to understand that it is their duty and obligations. Those are the gatekeepers, those that review you, the bloggers, the newspapers, and also the broadcasters that play your music, or people that play your music in clubs or at concerts, that they need to understand that they need to compensate you. But when you have a situation where there's no public awareness of these facts, you as a creative would not willingly want to sign up with, say, a COSON of Nigeria, the Copyright Society of Nigeria, knowing that they cannot protect you and you're not going to earn any revenues, because those of us who live off our works, who live off copyrights, because basically the situation with music now is that you're not really making any money from sales. Yeah, there's Spotify, there's Apple, Deezer, or what have you not, but the revenue stream from those platforms and those services is minimal. Way back, back in the days, you had a situation where CDs were being sold. You made more money off the physical sale. So every cent counts. And that's why I personally would not sign up with a royalty collecting society from Nigeria, because there's no transparency at all. I mean, I'm yet to receive a dime from, say, COSON, for example. And you don't know how the accounting is being done. You don't know how they're distributing the money. Everything is just basically upside down. And what we have to be aware of is that the West is paying attention, because what you have now is copyright collecting societies like SACEM or GEMA. SACEM is a French royalty collecting society. GEMA, the German royalty collecting society. ASCAP from the United States. They're now coming to Africa and signing our artists directly and telling them, look, we have our structures in place. You don't really need a local copyright protection society. Sign on to us, and then all of a sudden, all our intellectual properties are going to the West and being protected in the West. It's a problem.
Thank you for that. Mr. Dauda, You have heard the concerns of two creatives, Yejide and Ade. I would like you to tell us what the Nigerian Copyright Commission actually does. How does it ensure that the intellectual property of hardworking Nigerians and people are not infringed upon? And how does it go around about protecting this property, intellectual property rights?
Thank you very much. Let me first of all respond to Yejide. We have a challenge on this particular digital online piracy or digital/online piracy. The Commission is trying to address that issue. As of now, a draft bill seeking for stiffer penalties of those that are involved in copyright infringement. That's one. The bill also addresses the issue of digital online piracy. Last but not the least, it also seeks to domesticate all the international treaties that provide copyright protection. So the Commission is well aware of that, and efforts are being made. The draft bill is now waiting the presidential transmission to the National Assembly. So we are trying to address that aspect of online piracy. Then coming to Mr. Ade, yes, I'm glad that he's aware of the two collecting society, better known as Copyright Society of Nigeria, COSON, that's COSON. We also have MCSN, that's the Musical Copyright Society of Nigeria. As I'm talking to you now, they're on ground. However, the case of COSON is that presently they are on suspension. So the Commission is having a little problem with COSON. Their license was suspended in 2017. So we're trying to address that aspect of the musical societies. So I don't know whether Ade belongs to which of the two collecting societies. Has he registered with any of them, or is yet to register? They are there, they are operating. So issue of saying that they use your works, they broadcast your musical works without getting loyalty, I don't know.
I know for sure. Sorry for intervening here, but I know for sure. Because ultimately, I'm signed to the GEMA. I used to be signed to GEMA. That's the German Collecting Society, because I started my music career in Germany. Now I'm signed to SACEM in France. But when I look at my royalty statements, that is the major issue here. I don't generate any revenues from Nigeria, although my music is being played. I don't generate any revenues, although I play concerts. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a problem somewhere. There's no transparency. And also COSON, for example, just to mention one of those two bodies, as they have governing issues. I mean, so when you have all of that, and I'm yet to generate in a 25-year spanning career, I'm yet to generate one kobo from Nigeria. Although my music is being played on TV, it's on Nigerian websites, it's on CDs, and what have you not, then there is a problem. Even if I'm not signed to a Nigerian copyright society, they should actually forward my revenue to my copyright society in Europe. It's not happening.
Have you made any effort to do that? Maybe liaise with them. Okay, this is what we're going to do.
Oh, wait, Mr. Dauda. Mr. Dauda?
Yes.
Just a minute. Before you start asking the questions, no problem.
Yes.
On what you have said, now there are two issues. Yejide had told us that our ministry here in Nigeria, so that's part of government, had taken her work, amongst other writers, and uploaded it to their site. Now, the Nigerian Copyright Commission is the parastatal charged with the protection of the intellectual property of Nigerians generally. Now, how can this happen? That you the MCC is there, and a fellow government parastatal is breaching the law. And it had been done based on what she said, looking at the URL, it's been there for a while, probably years. And the NCC did nothing about it. The next thing you have talked about the suspension of one of the collecting agencies and all
Yes.
for royalties. And you said it's been suspended since 2017. Now, if these agencies stand suspended, then what happens to the artists or creatives that are under them, who are supposed to actually rely on these agencies to collect their royalties for them and remit it to them? So if this is being done, what do you expect the Nigerian creatives to do when their society is suspended and they seem not to be protected? Based on what Mr. Bantu has said, of course, he has said he doesn't have any confidence in the Nigerian system because he's been in business for several years and he has not received a penny or a kobo in royalties. While his work, his artistic creations are being used, they are played on radio, they are used on TV, but nothing is done. So the Nigerian Copyright Commission really needs to answer to these allegations of these two creatives.
Okay, thank you, ma. Before I go further, let me quickly provide you with these statistics. When it comes to fighting piracy by NCC, the Commission has made a number of efforts, great effort to see that we reduce this piracy to barest minimum. So far, from 2011 to 2019, the Commission has been able to conduct over 720 raids across the country and made arrests of about 756 suspected copyright pirates. Again, seizures, the Commission has been able to seize over 29 shipping containers of pirated books, musical and film works through partnership with the custom. I think that's a great effort. 29 containers. Then, above all, the Commission has been able to secure 60 criminal convictions against pirates at different federal courts in Nigeria or across the country. So with these statistics, I feel the Commission is not sleeping. Then, coming back to Yetunde, I don't know. The issue here is, as a right owner or as an author, once somebody tampered with your works, what you do is you report the case to the Commission. The Commission may not know about all the infringement that is happening across the country. So what we do is that the authors or the owners of works that report their case to the Copyright Commission, then we now take action. Did you report that matter to the Commission? That's the book piracy.
So no, I didn't. I actually contacted, so the ministry who had uploaded my book was the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. They have an e-library. So I actually called the ministry myself, and the book was pulled down. And but I think now, knowing that this is something that the Commission is meant to do, but I think on the Commission's part, it would be good for them to do some public announcement, something about saying this is what we can offer for creatives, because I'm sure a lot of people don't know that that's something that they can do. So ongoing, that would be excellent for you to to invest in that and doing some public awareness that this is what intellectual property is. This is, these are the expectations the Commission has from creatives and the public. So I think that would be something excellent for the Commission to handle in terms of promoting what they actually do, because I didn't know that. So, and I'm sure that other people don't as well. So, but I contacted the ministry myself, and the book was pulled down.
I just want to guide her or guide the two right owners. One is the Commission that has the mandate.
And the viewers and public.
not the ministry. Get me clear. The Commission's mandate includes administration, enforcement, protection, and promotion and regulation of the copyright in Nigeria. So we have the enforcement powers. The ministry doesn't have enforcement powers.
What she was saying, when she said she contacted the ministry, she said it was the Ministry of Youth and all that infringed her copyright and uploaded her book. So she contacted the ministry and they took the book down. She didn't contact them to try and prosecute any other person. It was the ministry itself that was guilty of this infraction.
Okay,
so that's what she meant. She wasn't saying that the ministry had powers to prosecute or protect. She just contacted them because they were the guilty people.
Okay, I understand. But subsequently, the fact that they were able to pull out the book, you should have even reported the case to the commission. Then again, I wish to inform you that the commission has an e-registration platform that registers all categories of works of authors. It is online. So please take advantage of this e-registration and register your works. It's just 10,000 registration of works. We have been receiving many applications. They're online. Then if you need our website, we can provide that to you. You can register within 1 week, you get your certificate.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Now, back to Yejide and Ade. Now, some people in the creative arts, or some people feel that people in the creative arts in Nigeria and Africa generally are often taken advantage of by their publishers, music labels, film producers, and all those kind of things. Do you think, or do you advise creatives who are starting out in the business to seek an agent or a manager, depending on what area or field they are in, before signing up with a record label or with a publisher? Do you think that would help them in protecting their rights as opposed to doing a deal directly with these publishers or record labels?
The way the music industry is now structured in 2020 is such that I wouldn't advise going to a manager. What is more important is having a legal representative actually guide you through the process. They're entertainment lawyers, very highly skilled in Nigeria. Those are the people you should be looking out for, and those are the people you should be giving money to. Because when it comes to the music business, everything has changed. Things are pretty much upside down. So the former way of doing it was to be signed to a big record label, and then you would have a big music publisher, and then you would have a management company, and they would just be all hands-on, and you can just be creative. These days, you have to be in charge of your social media. You have to basically manage your own career and all of that. So I think everyone should just use their own structures. Yes, management is important, but most importantly, the legal representation. And I think what is also important to note is that I think in general, when it comes to music, it's a lot of hustle around this process. So what it means is that you also have hustlers. So people launder their money through music. You have a lot of people with no experience whatsoever coming into the music business and paying their way through radio stations, getting all the airplay and whatever you know. So it's not very fair for young talents, and then they become desperate, because what we need to understand is a lot of artists themselves are they're actually pirating their own works just to get the fame. They're all out for fame, because the thinking of an average Nigerian artist is such that I can't make money from physical sales. What I need is shows, I need endorsements. When I have endorsement deals, then I will blow. Then I will recoup my investment, because breaking a single in Nigeria can cost you up to 10, 12 million naira. That is production. That is settling all kinds of people, and that money needs to be recouped. So a lot of people are desperate. They give out their music for free. They don't care about copyright. They're just out there to just recoup what they've invested. So it's because they're not aware as well. So when you're not aware that you have to think long term, and when you don't have anybody guiding them, because why is nobody guiding them as well? We have to talk about that in the music industry. We don't have any structures in place, no record companies anymore, or a few here and there. But I mean, everything is pretty much broken down. So what we have is a music scene and everybody's winging it.
One good thing in Nigeria is that if you're trying to get a publishing deal, as far as I'm aware of, you don't need an agent. You don't need a literary agent to submit your books to publishing houses. It's not the case for most Western countries. You need a literary agent who will be that go between for you. But I think just piggybacking on what Ade said, you have to have a very good understanding of your publishing contract, agreement, whatever it's called, because even if you have an agent can take advantage of you. So you as a creative, it's no longer just you focusing on producing the work. You have to understand what those publishing contracts mean. You have to understand the clauses. You have to understand the impact on you. So that's the business part of creative, of being creative. You have to know what those contracts mean and what they mean for you. So I know, like, I've been in that desperate position too, where I want to get my work published, and where I would say, oh, if someone offers you a deal, you're like, maybe it's not the best you can get, but it's the best you can get for now. But we have to be savvy about the publishing contracts we're signing. So definitely, if you can get a lawyer who can help look over things for you, that would be a really good advantage. But you also have to have understanding, so that when the lawyer is advising you, you can make an informed decision. So I think, so for all the young creatives out there, it's great to get an offer, but don't jump on just anything that comes your way. You need to really look over that agreement to make sure that if someone is tying you down tying your work down for the next 10 years, you need to understand what you're going to benefit from it. So that's my take on it.
Okay, now flowing from what you just said, Yejide, what have you found about this subsidiary rights in your career? Like, have there been rights that you have had to hold on to, or are there rights that so far you've not really had the opportunity to exercise? And what would you advise people in this kind of situation when they are signing contracts with regards to either the music, films, or books?
With music, because of the low revenue streams from streaming services and all of that, what record companies tend to do is they sign 360 deals. So they basically do management, they do publishing, they take a cut from your merch, they might even take a cut from, say, your concerts, and they also make sure that they get any other rights that where money can be generated, sync licensing rights and things like that. So it's very, very dicey, and that's why it's so important to not only be informed, which is very important, as Yejide stressed, but to also get proper legal advice. Because as I keep telling young people these days, it's not by force and by fire that you must sign this deal. What is important is to first of all build your career yourself. With the internet, with the tools at your disposal, you don't necessarily need a record label. Yeah, if you're publishing a book, it's something completely different. But when it comes to music, considering how cheap it has become to use your computer to make beats, to record at home, the hardware is pretty much affordable. So you don't have to be all out desperate, because people take advantage of these things. What I have personally always done was to make sure that I retain my rights. From an early start of my career, I was guided by veterans who always told me that publishing is important and owning your masters. So what usually happens in the music business is that your master recording is not actually owned by you. It is owned by the record label, and they own it forever. So that's why you had situations with an artist like Prince, who would write Slave on his chicks because he wanted out of his deal, but the deal said, hey, we own your masters and we own the next 4 or 5 records you'll be producing. So those kind of deals are unheard of, say, in film or in publishing, but in music, it's almost a slave-like relationship. And we must learn from the past and not repeat the mistakes made by the musical greats. So that is why I keep stressing, try to hold on to as much as possible for as long as you can. And then you work with your various partners, with your legal team, and see how much of a fraction of your income you're willing to share with a third party. And you also have to understand what services what they're bringing to the table. So I know it's a lot for creatives because it means you being legally savvy and what have you not. But since all your big heroes are the Jay-Z's, the Beyoncé's of this world, who are entrepreneurs as well, you have to start working with that mindset. So only being creative isn't enough, which is good and also bad. But I think it's an opportunity and we have to seize it.
Thank you. Yejide?
Yeah, so when we're talking about rights, we're not just talking about the kind of rights, like you talked about foreign rights, audio, movie. We're also talking about territories. We're talking about, are you selling world rights, which is not something I'm a fan of. Are you selling African rights? Are you selling North American rights? Are you selling UK rights, right? So those are things that you have to keep in mind. I'm not a fan of world rights because it's unless it's a really big publishing house and they have subsidiaries everywhere, it's going to be hard for them to market your work in all those different countries because every country has its own different vibe, right? So I'm a fan of keeping as many rights as you can and piecemealing them so that you can make more money, because when you sign a contract with a publisher, let's say you have a North American deal with one publisher, that's a different contract. If you're signing a foreign rights deal, that's a different contract. If you're signing an audio book contract, that's a different contract. So you're having multiple streams of income. So that's why it's really important to understand not just the kind of rights, you also have to understand the territories that have been kind of carved up. So for instance, when I sold my first book, that's Daughters Who Walk This Path, I was able to sell, because I live in Canada, I was able to sell the Canadian rights different from the American rights. And most times it's the North American rights that's been sold. And I was able to sell, for my foreign rights, I was able to sell German rights, I was able to sell rights in Thailand. And so those are different multiples. So it's also important to understand. And of course, I had an audiobook. And so it's very important when you're signing contracts with the publishing houses to look at those rights. Try and keep as many as possible for yourself, because sometimes they don't even exercise those rights. They don't bother to shop them around. They just sit there and you're not making any money from it. So that's why it's really important to understand what those rights are, and it's important to understand the business. So there's a business part of you. We can no longer be, a writer sitting down in a cottage somewhere in the woods and writing and just sending your work out there. Your work is you. You have to, if you invest in your life and money and time into it, then you have to make sure you're part of a success story.
Now, I know, Yejide, you spoke about your book being uploaded illegally on our ministry's website here in Nigeria. But I wanted to ask you and Ade Bantu, well, apart from this incident you have spoken about, whether you've had your work stolen, whether you've had your work, actually your intellectual property infringed on, what did you do? I know you've talked about, like I said, the ministry one. What did you do? Have you had any other experience? What did you do, and would you have done anything differently if it happened now? So, Yejide, you go first, then Ade Bantu, you go next.
Yeah. So apart from the ministry incident where they uploaded the book, I've had other instances over the years where people are sharing PDFs and of the book. And like, apart from the book blogger who attacked me this year, somebody attacked me in the past, and I was like, what am I going to do? Like, people would say, okay, so if I say, excuse me, you're not supposed to do that, it's illegal, it's theft. People are going to say, well, we can afford books. Things are hard in Nigeria. You should be flattered that we're reading you. So I think that public awareness part is really important in them understanding, oh no, it is theft. Like, you are actually stealing somebody's work. And so on my part, that's what I try to, when I can, to educate people that what you're doing when you're stealing somebody's PDF, you're illegally downloading anything, it is theft, and you're taking away from that creative, because they're investing a lot of time and a lot of money into those works. So that's really what I'm more the education piece right now, for people to understand that what they're doing, it's not, you're not being smart, you're not being, that you're hurting another person who's trying to make a living just like you are. And so that's really what I've done. But now that I know about the commission, but I would really like to hear something about, okay, so you register, what's their track history with actually getting support for creatives whose intellectual property has been violated? Do they have a track history? What have they done? It'd be good to hear that. Then to know, okay, then that will give you confidence in actually going to that website to register your works.
Ade, let's have your input on the question I asked. Have you had your intellectual property stolen? What did you do when that happened? And would you act differently today?
Yes, I've had my intellectual property infringed upon numerous times, mostly, unfortunately, from Nigerians. Back in the day, because as I said, I've been in the music business for over 20 years. What I would do would be to get in a lawyer and then write or try to address it legally. What I noticed was I wasn't being taken seriously, and at some point I just gave up, because even the lawyers I would go to would be, okay, it's going to be a long process. You have to bribe this person so that they sign these papers. You know how dysfunctional Nigeria can be. So I'm kind of glad that it has shifted to a digital space where I can communicate with those who infringe upon my rights directly. So what I do is I will mostly send them an email, because you don't want to burn bridges. And I would just kind of hint on the fact that I sent you a personal email that's like a reviewer, for example. So usually what happens is, before we release a song, a couple of days or weeks prior to the release, we send out a press statement with download links and with public links. And then we send it out to music bloggers and journalists in Nigeria. And we say, hey guys, this is about to come, so that it can fit into your timeline. But what I've noticed, because a lot of them are not properly trained journalists, and a lot of them don't even know what it means to infringe upon somebody's rights, and they're not really schooled properly. So what you have is a situation where they don't only copy paste your press release, which is kind of lazy journalism. They now put in the private download link that you had sent to them so that they can listen. It's a pre-listen link. They now put it out in the public space. And every time I send out a press release, I have to keep reminding them. So I've even had to adapt to the Nigerian methodology and be like, okay, what I have to do now is just send them a listening link, which is very unfortunate, because when you have an international release, you don't want to send somebody an MP3 file. You've spent hours, days, months mixing, recording. You spend loads of money mastering your product, and you want them to listen to it, the reviewer, in high quality, so that they can make an informed decision and also an informed critique. But since they're not aware of the fact that they're infringing on your rights, and every time you keep flagging it, they will just say it's bad belay, or you're too they doing your or something like that. I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'll just give you a streaming link. So it is very, very difficult. It is. It just takes a lot of energy, you know.
In other words, what you're saying is that due to the way we conduct business here in Nigeria, you would not do anything different. It is just, you just restrict our journalists and publicity people to MP3s or links that they cannot share. So you're just saying that personally, you have not done anything to protect your intellectual property or enforce those rights, and you will not do anything different. Did I get you right?
No, not at all. Not at all. As I said, I've taken legal action, but the follow-up process was slow. So I engaged the services of a lawyer. A letter was sent to the party that infringed upon my rights. They answered, but then going to the courts, at some point there was kind of a stalemate. So I never felt like justice would ever be served, knowing how our judicial system works and how long it takes, I mean, for the whole master engine to work, if so to say. So I still flag it. I don't take these things lightly. If you infringe upon my rights, I'm not going to say, oh, it's Nigeria. I'm not going to I will send you an email. And if you do not react and if you don't take it down, then I will get my lawyer. Because what you need to understand is you're hurting me. You're hurting my income and you're destroying my career. And that is what is very important, to keep on stressing and informing those who do not know better.
Mr. Dauda, I just want you to reiterate what you had said. What has the Commission done, and what can the Commission do to protect the intellectual property of Nigerian creatives?
Let me go quickly to what Ade has enumerated. You see, the way I look at it, I don't know where have he ever reported this case of piracy of his work to the Commission? 1. 2, I don't know whether he's aware that copyright cases are only or can only be treated or handled by Federal High Court only. No any other court has jurisdiction to handle copyright cases.
Yeah.
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, or as I've mentioned, from 2011 to 2019, the Commission has been able to secure 60 criminal convictions. So once you report your case to the Commission, we don't waste time. We take urgent steps to see that we prosecute the matter to the federal court. So I want to assure him that it's not the issue of just going straight to pick a lawyer to handle your infringement. No. First of all, approach the Copyright Commission. Have you been doing that? If you've not done that, please, it's better to report the matter to Copyright Commission rather than taking a lawyer and then maybe the lawyer will now go to a wrong court. And of course, at the end of the day, it won't go anywhere. The case is, it's not an ordinary court. It's only federal court that has the jurisdiction to handle copyright matters in Nigeria or cases.
So what, can you walk us through the procedure? If somebody has a problem and they come to the Nigerian Copyright Commission, what would happen? Because we need to get this information out there. Yejide is here. She said she was not aware of what you do, the Nigerian Copyright Commission. And I'm a lawyer. I'm aware of you. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of Nigerians who are even aware of the Nigerian Copyright Commission do not have confidence in the commission to deal with their matters expeditiously and fairly. And sometimes they just think they're going to drag their feet on it. So can you walk us through the procedure or the process of protection of these intellectual properties? Like if an aggrieved person, an aggrieved creative comes to the NCC, what are the steps that will be taken? What is the process? Can you walk us through that, please?
Yes, the steps are very, very easy. Once you discover that your books or your works has been tampered with, just write to the commission. You can come in person. You don't need to even write it. If you feel it will take time, you can. We have 14 state offices across the country. Abuja is the 15th. You can report your matter to any of the nearest state where we have our office, but ensure that you have met your surveillance, you have identified the person. We quickly go into actions. We have our copyright inspectors that works hand in hand with the police. We always go with the police. So I don't know. We have done a series of enforcement operations. Some we do it based on our officers' surveillance and investigation. Some, in most cases, is from the right owners. Like MultiChoice, we have been carrying out raids with MultiChoice and many other publishers of books. So we have been doing that. So the issue is, I want to advise the right owners. Let them ensure that they should be checking their works. They should be carrying out surveillance, both in the digital and the physical aspect of piracy.
Okay. What can you
Yes.
tell us what the outcomes are? Sorry to cut you off. Like, first of all, can you tell us what the timelines are? So how long will it take if somebody comes to you that, oh, my intellectual property rights are being infringed? I've seen somebody who has reproduced my book or my music. How long will it take for you guys to swing into action and then conclude that action? And what are the outcomes that aggrieved creatives can hope for once they get the Nigerian Copyright Commission involved?
As soon as you report your case to the commission, we go straight. We don't even waste time. We don't even take up to 2 days. Just let us know the location of where the infringement is going on. We don't waste time. We have our officers on ground. You don't need to, we tell you, go and come tomorrow. Just ensure that you identify the location of that place. If need be, the owner of that particular shop, we go into action immediately. We don't waste time. So I'm assuring you that as long as you report your case to us, we will not let you down. After investigation, we take the case to the court, federal court.
And
Yes.
when you take it to court, is it for criminal prosecution, or is it with a view to ensure that the aggrieved person whose rights have been infringed upon gets some kind of compensation?
Yes.
What is the outcome?
Like Yejide mentioned, this, I think, I don't know, I'm not aware. She did not report the matter to the commission. Otherwise, we could have confiscated those books. We now, what we do with pirated products is that we conduct burning exercises. We burn them. We destroy them. So once an incident of, when you report an incident of piracy to the commission, we take necessary actions.
Okay. And well, you've talked about how the NCC has gone around arresting, seizing, but a lot of people complain that arguably one of the biggest arenas for piracy and stolen intellectual property is like the Alaba International Market in Lagos, where pirated CDs, DVDs, books, things are just there on display. Why is this continually allowed? Why has the NCC not gone there to shut this business down? Because if there are regular raids and these people who are infringing on other people's intellectual property rights are like arrested, arraigned, and they see that it's too much trouble, they would not, with such impunity, go ahead. A lot of people think the NCC is not doing enough when it comes to glaring evidences and places like the Alaba International Market with regards to the infringement of intellectual property rights. What do you have to say to that? And you just have a minute for your answer, please. We are almost out of time.
Okay. Yes, we have entered the Alaba market on several occasions. We have met a number of arrests from the Alaba market. What I would always advise is that the right owners or right associations should ensure that they identify the areas. That's, I'm talking of Alaba market. Identify where you feel they are pirated products there. You see, we cannot just go to Alaba and start picking things that they are pirated. We have to get a clue. We have to get a kind of information. We were in Alaba, I think, not up to 2 weeks. The commission was in Alaba. But the issue is, when you report it, it is our job. When you report your matter to us, okay, I've located a place, this is where they're tampering with not only your own works, but they are producing and selling pirated products. We arrested a pirate kingpin in Alaba. Of course, I told you about it. We arrested the man, we took him to court. So what we need a serious synergy between the owners, that's right owners, and the commission. So please and please
Okay.
ensure that you identify these spots,
Thank you.
inform the commission appropriately.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I just want to go through one or two questions because our time will soon be up. I want to go through one or two questions from that have been sent in by people, the public. Now, Daniel Kobo from Togo wants to know, and this question is for all members of the panel, wants to know, is there any point in copyright or intellectual property protection since everything is accessible on the internet nowadays? That is a question from Daniel Kobo from Togo. So can you answer, Yejide, please, and then Bantu,
Yeah,
1
I
minute,
definitely
1 minute
think
each,
that there
please.
is, that is still an important thing, because if even not just for creatives, it's like saying if a drug company makes a new drug and it's a patent and they don't go and file it, so it's still your work. It's still something that you've created, and you have the right to benefit from it. So I think if you want to have free content and put it out, that's on you. But I think it's still really important for people to understand. And that's where the public awareness part is really important. People understand that this is what intellectual property is. This is how to protect it. So I think along younger ones are like used to getting content anywhere. So for them, it's not a big deal. But I think they need to understand that it is a big deal. You are infringing on somebody else's right.
It is very important to protect rights. And I think even the question comes from a place of ignorance. With all due respect, he's just not informed. And I think that's where we have to be more aggressive in public awareness campaigns. Not only us artists, the onus is not only on us artists, but also government bodies as well, because people need to understand what it means to infringe upon somebody's rights. That's why I like what the European Commission did when they put in a new law in place where basically the service providers, the YouTubes of this world, the SoundClouds, and they are going to be held accountable for the infringement. So if something is being put on their platform and it is an infringement of a third party's rights, they will be held accountable. So that is where they now go to their customers, to their users, and say, you have to be 100% sure that you own this content, or else please do not upload it. So I think there's a lot of reviewing that needs to go on. But most importantly, I think, is that our African societies, in terms of regulatory bodies and copyright societies, they need to adapt quickly to the transition from physical to digital, because I don't know how the NCC wants to go about actually arresting people that are infringing your rights online. I don't think that they have the mechanism in place to protect my rights as a rights holder.
I made mention of the draft copyright bill, which will soon be presented to the National Assembly. The bill seeks to provide for copyright protection, that's in a digital environment. Formerly or before, we didn't have provision for that. That has been taken care under the draft bill that is currently with the executive. So once this is done, I assure you that we will soon implement it. And we're going to address the issue of the digital piracy. Not only addressing the issue of digital
Thank you very
piracy,
much.
the penalty is going to be stiffer. Thank you very much.
Teddy Warrior from Kenya asked, does Nigeria have a go-to place for securing copyrights for books? And I'll just answer that. Yes, there's the Nigerian Copyright Commission. We've been talking with a director from the Nigerian Copyright Commission. If you want to secure a copyright, go there in Nigeria. So I believe we've gotten to the end of the session. Does anybody want to have a last minute point they want to make before the program closes? Unjoge from Kenya asked, is copyright a priority in any African country? Is copyright a priority in any African country? Yejide, what do you say?
I don't know if it's a priority because we have so many things that we're dealing with, right? But and so people are like, oh, okay, if my basic needs are not being met, why am I worrying my head about copyright? But it should be, because we're talking about people's livelihood. We're talking about people's passions. People are putting, they're investing themselves. So it should be. I can't speak. I'm very leery about speaking for the entire continent. Like I can only speak for, I usually speak for Nigeria, right? But I think it should be. I don't know if it's priority for us. I'm glad to hear that the commission is doing something. And so I'm hoping that it will be. Right now, I think that we're still in the beginning stages. So.
Okay. Ade?
I think it is a priority for African nations because a lot of laws are being modified and a lot of countries are very apt at ensuring that there's strict enforcement. When you look at the global revenue stream for Africa and the country that plays the most significant role, 50% of the revenues generated on the continent are attributed to South Africa. So South Africa is doing something right. They have a very strong copyright society, and they have very strict laws that are being implemented. All stakeholders coordinate their activities. The same goes for Algeria as well, where 20% of the continent's income is being generated. They are doing a lot right. So we have to look at them. We don't always have to look at the West. Not every country on the continent, 54 countries, is as dysfunctional as Nigeria. And we have to change that narrative. We have to look within. And as I pointed out, South Africa and the Algerian models are things that I think we should take a closer look at.
Okay, Nigeria and indeed Africa has huge potentials of creative talents, and this need to be harnessed for national development. And I want to assure you that the Nigerian Commission will continue to work hard to see that we protect these creative talents.
Yes, this is sharing news because, of course, we know Nigeria is a hotbed for creativity. We have, of course, Nollywood that is now recognized all over the world. We have our music industry with dynamic musicians who have made their names and cut across barriers outside Nigeria and outside the African continent. And we even have writers who have done the same. So this should, the Nigerian Copyright Commission should ensure that it protects the interest of these people, because not only is it a stream for revenue generation for the individuals concerned, but also for the government in forms of taxes and things like that. So it's been good talking to you guys. And this has been the session titled Securing the Intellectual Property Rights of Creative Africans. And I have been talking to Bitrus Dauda of the Nigerian Copyright Commission, Ade Bantu, who is a musical creative, and Yejide Kilanko, who writes books, literature generally. Thank you for joining us. Have a good day.
That 5 minutes madness only you can understand. Visit myspectre.com to get your Spectre experience. Spectre, loans in 5 minutes.
Sticky, spicy, sweet.
Oh yeah, I want to go then. Don't touch me.
I will get you arrested.
See me.
Very, very witty. Relax, everybody.
He shot you.
Stranger's Guide is not a typical American travel magazine. Our mission is to dive deep into a single location, commissioning work from great writers and photographers, famous individuals, as well as up-and-coming new voices. This year, we decided to go to Lagos. And we are proud of the volume we produced, with original work from some of Nigeria's best writers and photographers, working with luminaries like Wale Soyinka, Molara Wood, and Femi Kuti. We think this is a very special volume, and we're so excited to bring it back to Lagos.
We don't just think of ourselves as a bank. We think of ourselves as corporate citizens with responsibility for growing the economy. Reading and education is a key part of it. But equally important is having access to reading materials at home. A lot of the intervention we've done throughout this COVID is to ensure that people can safely navigate the uncertainties of the COVID crisis and come out of it ready for, to live again.
Let's take a ride to the past in the back of a phoenix. Let's float around the moon.
The dreams that we have are limited by what we have directly interacted with. What reading does is it makes it possible for you to begin to live in worlds that don't yet exist. One read creates a discipline of reading. One read puts me on a timeline. It gives me an important book and I have an opportunity to read it and to collaborate. It's almost like having someone who does your book selection for you. If you have editors and people who are really good at this saying to you, this is the book for the month, I value that. I want to be able to read in a community. I want reading to be a collaborative thing. I want reading to be a communing, and One Read allows me to do that. I will use One Read any day, anytime.
Don't ruin your special moment. Shop now. Altmod.